It's a great pleasure to be at one of the coveted organizations, institutions in the city known for its excellence across multiple dimensions, and we'll be talking about one dimension today. And it's my honor and privilege to share the dais with the honorable trustees, faculty, and of course Samarth, because of whom I'm here, and Dr. Arvind, who's helping Samarth in what he's doing. So I think we've, in these 20 years, evolved a lot, right, as a startup ecosystem. And what I like about the ecosystem today is that it is so democratized that no small startup is, is inconsequential. So I don't think, and I really want to talk about this in every place that I get at opportunities, because, I think chasing the unicorn dreams are definitely something that, if you can, you should do. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a unicorn, a unicorn. But I believe that as a country, we will have all kinds of startups. And today, we are also getting to an ecosystem where there used to be a time when if you're not a large enough startup, you had no value. But I think that will change. We have our startups going IPO today. They will buy smaller companies, right? Because they want to expand and grow. So it's not bad anymore to, and I like what Samarth said, why will somebody buy you as a company? Only because your technology is deep. Your innovation is materially deep enough and has enough IP that, like Samarth said, is relevant not only for India, but it would stand up to any global benchmarks for the same IP or the same innovation. So I think that's when larger companies, and we have multiple companies that are in the path to IPO. It's not about the 10, 15 companies that have now gone IPO. We, I think, have about, I would say, in 2025, we will have another 30 to 40 companies that would IPO, from India. And we were falling behind a little bit in Bangalore, and I was taking a little bit of flack for that as to why Bangalore company, because the first 5 companies that IPO'd were all from Delhi. And it was a joke in the startup circles that the Delhi entrepreneurs know how to build businesses and the Bangalore entrepreneurs talk too much tech, but don't actually build businesses that can go IPO. But I think with Swiggy going public, with Ola going public from here, I think, and there's a bunch of companies lined up to go public. But what I was trying to emphasize is that, even if you're building small, right, make sure that you are not losing sight of the value of the innovation that you're building even as a small company. And there, like Samarth said, you have to be lean and you have to iterate fast. And I would add to what Samarth said, I don't think it's only about the heart, it's also about the brain, right? In any startup is both, right? It's about the left brain and the right brain. I think there is enough of logic, there's enough of analytical capability that you need to have, and at the same time, you need to have enough creativity and enough intuition and take those right calls. So it's your heart plus your left and your right brain, right? So how do you kind of bring all of these to bear is what you'll have to do in a startup. Now, just coming back to the point in time we are in India, right? So I think a lot of the easy opportunities are done, right? And it's important to understand that, because I still have people who come to me and say, okay, you know what, yes, there can be innovation, and I'm going to talk about this specifically because, I don't want to sound like all consumer opportunities are taken. No, there are still some consumer opportunities, but you just have to be cognizant, are you the right entrepreneur for that? do you have the right ability to position and pitch your startup in a VC-like environment, which is very momentum-driven? Or are you, it's important to understand what kind of an entrepreneur you are first. So don't try to be an entrepreneur who you aren't. Right? And I'll give you an example, let's say, of the Zepto entrepreneurs, right? The Zepto entrepreneurs are a very different breed. They are like Zuckerberg. They dropped out of Stanford. They had a very different ability to raise money and go after a market which already had a number 1 and number 2 incumbent, and as a number 3 incumbent, because if somebody as an investor advised you, they will say, you know, what are you thinking about building when you have Swiggy and Zomato? Would you ever think of building another startup, right? But then these entrepreneurs were different. So not all of us have the same capability to build something like that, right? But I think what we all have the capability is to pick a very sharp problem, right? And in that sharp problem, we first make it work locally with getting the right product market fit, like what Samat said. And with that right product market fit, you build local, you get national, and then you get global, right? So with the sequence, you kind of build any small technology and kind of iterate and build on top of that. I think that being focused on that, I think, is most relevant for most of us. It's not about building the next Zepto, or I think you recently saw we invested in something called Swish, which, you know, as Swiggy investors, you know, we always are thinking, okay, what is next, right? Now, I don't know how, just curious, because we are still in this process of thinking through what will happen to Swish. How many of you would really want your food within 10 minutes, and do you think that's important? Okay. And how many of you would be happy with 15 to 20 minutes? Okay. So I guess there is a market for, you know, this 10-minute kind of, but I don't understand it. I'm not a Gen Z person, or I don't understand why 20 minutes is not good enough. But I guess there are people in this generation who think 10 minutes is very valuable. But anyway, so I think there's this, you know, class of startups which have the innate ability to raise a lot of money in this high momentum spaces, and don't don't get enamored too much by that. You know, whatever inspiration you can draw, please draw from that. But don't try to just believe that you're one of them. I think the part that I want to talk about today is this transition of India from being just a soft, easy consumer type of an entrepreneurial ecosystem to what I would call now the importance of the hard plus the soft. And I think Samat kind of touched upon it, and I think that is really, really important. There was a period where if it was just not about a software app, right, it was, as a startup, I don't think anybody thought that without something online, you can build a good startup. But I think with AI, what we are seeing more and more, that the relevance of AI in software, of course, is there, and you know, it looks like it's threatening more computer science graduates than the mechanical, and for once, I think the mechanical engineers and people who can get into robotics and really hard product building seems like their time will now come, right? So I think it's interesting how industries kind of keep coming around in circles, right? Because I think people had written off mechanical and some of the electrical and semiconductor and some of these engineering streams, and they said you should just disband and everything in colleges, and the only thing that you should have computer science. And in 5 years, you'll probably get to a stage where every computer science graduate who will graduate from this college will have an equivalent AI first agentic employee. And that AI first agentic employee will work at a fraction of the cost of what we think even is very low cost Indian manpower, right? So there's like really a transformative change in the value for what I call as precision engineering. There is a transformative change for materials engineering and new material design, right? There's a transformative change for marrying AI, not so much with just software, but marrying AI with hardware, such as robotics. So robots that can work with imaging and robots that can see are more valuable than, with AI, are more valuable today than ever before, right? And then you have this idea of, building from the global south to the global north, because sustainability is as important today for everybody in the world. And we have a period where, because of what's happening in the China +1 environment, there is a unique opportunity for manufacturing-led startups from India. And as Accel, we have invested in, let's say in the last 1 year, if we have invested in 20 startups, about 8 of them or 9 of them have some deep element of manufacturing. So who would have thought that in 15 years, 20 years, our ecosystem would come a full cycle to from being a tech-only, software app-led ecosystem to now a deep supply chain integrated manufacturing plus software plus AI kind of ecosystem. So I think this full value chain opportunity that we have in India means that real engineering, real science, real marrying of hard and soft technologies, I think will make it more interesting for all of us, right? So why should this be a world for only computer scientists, right? So there's so much value in engineering, there's so much value in deep science that you want to build. If you look at something like SpaceX, right? SpaceX is not just about AI. SpaceX is as much about deep science and as much about engineering and as much about AI. So I think the big takeaway is that the time has come for us to be a global power, superpower, not just by flexing our outsourcing and our software muscle, but we want to be a superpower where Indians have had a decent amount of science. We were good engineers. We had developed a capability to develop reasonably good software. But now can we marry all these capabilities to build world-class startups from India that have more relevance, more IP, and in my opinion, will be more resilient over time. So that's the big takeaway message, that you can build small, build deep. You can build complex, full value chain companies if you want to do that, right? But the ability now to partner with entrepreneurs. So today when you look at co-founders, don't look at co-founders who are only good in building software systems, right? So you can look at co-founders who are good in building physical systems, co-founders who are great engineers and deep science thinkers. So this is definitely a paradigm shift in India, and the last 20 years was different, and I see that the next 10 years will be about, we didn't talk about healthcare, but we are at this unique moment in our lives where there's a lot of technologies that are coming together, from your genetics to multi-omics to your gut, to your ability to be a bit more precise in what you can do, and what I call as medicine 3.0. So it's no longer going to be driven by just organ level medicine anymore. It's going to be more system level, right? So just imagine the engineering element is now going to be key to medicine, right? It's no longer going to be about individual organs. It's going to be a more systems biology approach where the whole system, integrative medicine is going to be the future. So medicine 3.0, and so I'm just trying to again just leave one point here, that the systems approach and engineering being at the center of everything is the future, whether it is medicine, whether it is your consumer applications, whether it's manufacturing. So the future is great for engineers and scientists, and I think computer science is just one dimension of it, and that's the way it should have always been. Thank you.